Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be going over the 9.1 changes to the game, all of the tier 10 reworkings, but we are going to be breaking this up into a 5-part series. One video for each one of these, basically pictures of all the stats here. We have, 5 different ones, so we are going to be doing one at a time because it's going to take way too long to go through all of these in one video, and I'm sure you guys don't want to watch like a 40 long freaking minute video, and it'd probably be much easier for you just to watch like an 8 or like a 10-minute one once a day or something like that, if you want my opinion on all these changes, of course. Now, with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it, because it will still take a minute here to get through all of these. Alright, so we're going to be starting with the Grill 15 here. The speed will be decreased by 3, the traverse of the hole will be increased by 4 degrees, the penetration will be increased by 21 millimeters, and the alpha on the AP will be decreased by 40 and 60 on the HE. Now, my opinion on these changes are from the top one. The maximum speed decrease doesn't really matter that all much. It's really not going to, you're really not going to be able to feel that minimal of a decrease. The traverse rate going up by 4 degrees, I actually like that. I think it did need a little bit more traverse speed. The penetration going up by 20 is basically just to help soften the blow of losing 40 alpha, which absolutely sucks. I really hate that the grill is losing 40 alpha. If they wanted this tank to have less DPM, why did they just not like raise the reload so that would have less DPM? This is like a double nerf right here, because you get less alpha and less DPM. It would have been much better if they had just done one or the other, in my opinion. I don't like this nerf at all. I really wish Wargaming wasn't doing that. Play your grills for the next, 2 or 3 weeks as much as you can if you really like the tank, because, yeah, it's probably going to kind of suck after this. Now, the 20mm pin buff is not enough to make up for that big of an alpha chop, so yeah, very sad. Hopefully this, I don't know, doesn't happen or gets buffed back to normal. Alright, now moving on to the JG Panzer E100. Now this tank is getting 150 HP buff. The dispersion is being increased by 0.028. The aiming time will be decreased by 1 second. The view range will be decreased by 5 meters, not even know why that matters. The concealment factor while stationary will be decreased. The dispersion on hull traverse will be decreased by 0.04, and armor thickness in the cheeks of the cabin will be increased by 20 millimeters. Alright, my opinion on these buffs here. The durability being increased by 150, I think is pretty interesting. I feel like that's a lot. I do like that increase, because this is basically a heavy tank, honestly. It's basically a non-turreted heavy tank, so, having more HP with it does make sense. Because, it's fighting with the heavies all the time. Now, the dispersion being increased by 0.028 isn't massive, but that will hurt your dispersion a decent amount. But the aiming time will be decreased by 1 second, so this is going to be more about, stopping and shooting than you're going to want to be, on the move, moving around, sort of shooting will be better on this tank. The view range decrease seems, useless, doesn't even matter. Concealment factor, I'm not sure how much it will be decreased, so we're going to see if this is, big or not, so I'm not sure about that yet. And now the dispersion on hull traverse will be decreased by 0.04, so, they nerf the dispersion and then buff the dispersion, it's just, it doesn't seem like it's very big of a buff or a nerf. Anyway, now one thing I really like here is that the cheeks are going to be buffed by 20 millimeters. I'm really glad they're doing this. I think the Jag Panzer cheeks should be buffed so that, they're a lot harder to pin, because they just should be. Anyway, and I like that buff. I think that's good. Jag Panzer, I think, overall is getting buffed, definitely. It's getting much more HP, getting more armor, and the other ones are kind of minimal or, you equal each other out. So, yeah, definitely having a better Jag Panzer after this update. Now, the E100, let's look at this here. Hull traverse speed will be increased by 5 degrees, which is a decent amount. Dispersion will be increased by 0.019. Reload time will be increased by 0.96 seconds. And the armor thickness in the turret front will be increased by 20 millimeters, basically the same as the JG. So, the changes to the E100. Glad they're buffing the traverse speed, because, it's not the quickest, but it's not horrible right now, but now it'll be a pretty snappy traverse speed. The dispersion will be increased by 0.019, not huge. The dispersion already, isn't like the best, isn't the worst or anything, so it will be just like a little worse now. The reload is getting a second worse though, which really sucks because I like how, the E100 has a long enough reload right now. I guess they want it more like the VK72's reload, which sucks again, but I'm definitely not happy that they're doing that. They are finally though buffing the cheeks of the E100 as well. They will be much harder to pin now, especially while you're angling, so that is very nice. I still think overall this is going to be a nerf with the 1 second longer reload, because that is long. That is a long reload. Now the armor will help you a lot, but you can still be pinned with premium by, pretty much everyone. And you're still going to be, needed to get your damage out, and now it's going to be a lot harder. So yeah, I think overall it's a slight nerf. Alright, VK90.01p. The dispersion will be decreased by 0.01, and aiming time will be increased by 0.4 seconds. So basically, they're just making this tank have a tiny bit better, or a little bit better dispersion, and a little bit worse aiming time. So interesting, kind of aiming it, changing how the tank is supposed to be aimed, which is kind of weird, but I guess so. Maybe they want you shooting on the move, apparently, more, or whatever. Alright, the Hori now. Whole traverse speed will be increased by 5 degrees, and the maximum speed will be decreased by 5 kilometers an hour. Now, the thing about the Hori is it almost never gets up to top speed, so, this really isn't going to affect it too much having the 5 kilometer an hour nerf, so that's not too bad, and the increased traverse will be nice. So overall, honestly, this could be a buff to the Hori a tiny bit, which, would be pretty crazy, or not crazy, but, it might be a little bit of a buff. Definitely really not a nerf or anything that's going to change the tank very much. Alright, now the Leopard 1. APCR shells will be replaced with AP shells, which is a little bit of a buff right there. AP shells are better than APCR. It's going to be getting 50 less HP, which, I guess already has no armor, so having less HP kind of sucks, but it makes it more like a light tank, I guess that's what they're going for. It's going to be increased by 10 HP, though, on the damage, so it's going to have 360 alpha now, an interesting, I guess, new alpha, I'm not sure. So that is buffing the DPM by even more, quite interesting. And then it's going to be getting reticle, Cali, and improved gunpowder, which are just some consumables and nothing too big. Alright, so the Leopard 1, I think, is definitely overall getting buffed because of the AP shells and the more alpha, but unfortunately getting 50 less HP, which, you're really not going to notice, so definitely a buff. E50M here is going to be getting the same treatment. Basically, all the meds are now going to be having AP as their main shells. The dispersion will be increased by 0.028 on the E50M, and the reload will be decreased by 0.3 seconds, and the damage of standard shells will be decreased by 10 damage. So basically doing the opposite of the Leopard 1 with the gun there, having a little bit less alpha now. It's going to be 340, which, again, I'm not really sure why they did that, because now they're just going to be decreasing the reload, and it's like, not really a change to the gun. It just has like a little less alpha now, but like the same DPM. Seems kind of interesting. So honestly, the E50M probably won't change that much. With the AP shell change, though, it might be a buff. It's hard to tell. I think this is pretty much just staying the same, though. Alright, the VK72.01K maximum speed being increased by 2 kilometers an hour, and the dispersion on traverse will be increased by 0.02. So pretty much this is, nothing. The tank's getting a tiny bit faster and a tiny bit worse dispersion while the turret is traversing. Nothing really. Not even anything we need to talk about. Now, the mouse penetration values of the standard shell will be increased by 4 millimeters. Again, not really a big change, so not really that valuable. Turret thickness armor of the cheeks will be increased by 10 millimeters. That's very nice. Turret traverse speed will be decreased by 1 degree, and the whole traverse speed will be decreased by 1 degree as well. And the concealment factor while stationary will be decreased. So basically, big tank, so gets spot easier. Big tank, so traversing a tiny bit slower, and big tank, so a little bit better armor. Not huge changes to the mouse right here. I think the 10 millimeters of armor on the cheeks, though, is going to be a very nice buff, though, because that will get you quite a few more bounces on the cheeks, probably. The penetration buff really is so minimal that it doesn't matter very much. Alright, now we are moving on to the final tank, the STB-1, which the changes are gun depression will be increased by 1 degree, APCR is going to AP, and the dispersion at 100 meters will be increased by 0.019. So the STB really isn't going to be changing all that much. I mean, you're going to be getting AP shells, but a tiny bit worse accuracy, and 1 degree more gun depression already has so much that, that's pretty much useless. So really not changing all that much. So my opinions on all the changes from the first tanks right here. Not a fan of the grill change. Not a fan of the E100 change. Not a... and I think the E50M1 was kind of useless as well. But other than that, you know, there's not really anything I'm too, like, bummed about, because I don't play the grill that much anymore. So, you know, I mean, I think that sucks, and I don't want it to get nerfed. That's definitely the worst one out of this list. Other than that, I like the the Jag Panzer changes. Like, I guess I like the Leopard changes. I'm not really sure. And the Mouse changes. I like the armor buff to the E100 and that sort of stuff. But other than that, really not any too big changes going on. Alright, so that's it for this video, everyone, and I will see you in the next one, where we'll be going over more changes.